Hi, welcome back to Exploring Lean. I'm your host, Julia Kirby. Today we will be talking to Robert Martichenko, CEO of LeanCor, about customer value alignment. Welcome to the show, Robert.
Hi, Julia. Great to be here again.
So today we're going to be talking about customer value alignment. What does that mean to be aligned with customer value?
Well, when we think about what lean thinking is about, it's about providing value to the customer at the lowest possible total cost. So obviously one of the first things we need to recognize is that this is about being customer facing. This is about really the customer being the first step of the process, in particular in the supply chain, understanding customer consumption and understanding those things that the customer sees as valuable. So I think that what we're talking about here is really about aligning with the customer to understand what is it that they deem valuable in the products or services that we're producing or servicing them with, and then make sure that we're only providing those things and eliminating those things that they don't see as valuable.
Gotcha.
It sounds easy in theory, but the real work is to really understand what is the value, what do they see as value, and also as a lean leader to recognize that it's going to always be changing. The changing economics, changing business dynamics will always change those things that a customer is seeing value at a given time. So, so the first step is to be talking to our customers, to be asking them. And just to really be asking them, what is it that you see as valuable in those products and services that we're providing you, and then making sure our processes are just focusing on that value proposition.
I think a lot of times organizations will, think they understand what the customer value is or what the customer expectation is based on their experiences with other customers and maybe that even that customer in the past. And you've talked about go see and going to where the work is being done, and this is kind of another example of how lean leaders need to go see and instead of where the work is being done inside the organization, going and seeing the customer. And how do they do that? What's the best way to go see when you're talking about
it's a great question, and I can even think of my own experiences sitting in the boardroom at LeanCor where myself and my team are talking about, well, the customer's not happy, or they're not happy about this, or the customer wants this, and then ultimately somebody will kind of interrupt and go, well, how do we even know that? We're sitting around here trying to solve a problem under the assumption that the customer wants this or doesn't want that or isn't happy about this or is happy about that. And oftentimes we say, well, maybe we should go talk to them. And I know that this sounds so simple, but the fact of the matter is that there are a lot of businesses that do not talk to their customers. So our goal as a lean leader is to really understand that the start of all of our work is with the customer. What is the value? And then we go and build our processes and our management systems and our leadership systems to provide that value at the lowest possible cost. Depending on the size of or nature of your business, it can be as simple as just going and talking to your customer, and certainly large organizations have voice of customer processes and surveys and all of these things. There's a lot of tactical techniques, but in the end, they're all doing the exact same thing, and that is they're all trying to reach out to their customer and saying, look, what are those things that we provide for you that you deem as valuable?
And speaking of what the customer value is, and you touched on this a little bit earlier, but I think some organizations kind of bunch both needs and wants into the same group and try to provide everything the customer wants as well as what they need, and sometimes not really sure which ones are the critical and which ones are the extra, and spending too much time on one versus the other.
Yeah, well, a customer need and customer want is a really interesting thing, and at times, I know at times I even struggle with it a little bit. If we think of a customer want, this is where you're going in and you're talking to the customer, and they have a perception of what it is that they want. But then as a service provider, in the case of LeanCor, we're a service provider, and we have, we believe that we're thought leaders relative to the lean supply chain and so forth. So there's times where we know that what we think our customer needs may not be what they actually want. I'll give you a great example. 4 or 5 years ago, we were working with one of our manufacturing customers, and we were sitting down doing brainstorming around velocity. In other words, how frequently were we going to deliver material into their factories? And one of my customers said, well, what's world class? And I said, well, I know of organizations that are delivering, one part number to their factories as high as 16 times a day right now, so every hour. And so then it was just immediately, well, that's what we want. And I said, well, that may be what you want, but that's not necessarily what you need. When we did the math and we did the analysis around the coefficient of variation and the stability of their particular parts, we managed to get their highest running part up to 8 times a day. There was absolutely no reason to go any more than 8 times a day. That was very fast, high velocity for that particular operation. So in that situation, the customer had a want, but we had to manage the true need. So it's about working with customers. It's about providing thought leadership for your customers. It's about letting your customers learn from what you've learned from other customers as well, and to share best practices, and to really work in a collaborative way to educate each other, so we take our wants and turn them into what the operation actually needs.
Well, thanks for being here today, Robert. Well, that's it for us today. Thanks for joining Exploring Lean. See you next time.